Okay, welcome back. This is our fifth and final module. And I just want you to know that I have really enjoyed designing this course, and also now that we've gone through 5 weeks, spending some time reading your papers, also reading some of your word studies. And so now we're in the final week. And in many ways, I see this week as being a time where everything comes together. So we have spent 4 weeks, just do a little review here. We've spent 4 weeks talking about interpretation, and we talked about the difference between subjective interpretation and objective interpretation, that in many regards we want to come to the text as rationally and objectively as we can so that we're not reading into the text. Then we want to understand the genres, and so we've spent some time with narrative and poetry and prophecy, and I hope you've enjoyed that. Again, I've really enjoyed reading your work on this, and I'm looking forward to what we do this week. Now, as we come to the 5th week, we want to bring it all together, and you'll notice that in the syllabus, essentially I have you doing a couple of things that at least these things are an attempt to bring things together and to bring the class together. So the project for not only this week, but also this semester, these 5 weeks, is an interpretive paper. And so I want you to pull it all together in the sense of essentially understanding what genre it is, and then using those principles for reading genre. I want you to do a word study, and then I want you to be able to contextualize. If you go all the way back to the first week, I had you watch a video on a gentleman who interpreted the story of David and Goliath. And then I gave you a list, and in fact, you find a checklist this week. I want you to go through that checklist. I want you to, if you want to, go back to that video. What did he do that was effective in both interpreting the scriptures, but then also making the scriptures, if you will, alive for our generation today? How do the scriptures, something that was written 2,500, 3,000 years ago, how do those scriptures speak to us today? And so this week, essentially, you're taking one passage. It's a passage that you can choose, and I want you to bring all the tools from the last 4 weeks, bring those together, and then produce a nice paper. In many ways, you can think of it this way. If you had 15 minutes in front of the camera, like our interpreter the first week, could you do the same work? And what we've been through so far, I really believe you can. And so I want you to think about that. But you're going to do this on paper, and then you'll be turning that in. The other thing I want you to do is go to church, and you're choosing, but I want you to listen to a sermon. And again, take that interpretive checklist, and again, be very careful, because I don't want you to go out and critique your pastor. I just want you to listen to someone else who's interpreting. I want you to get into the habit of listening and trying to understand both, is the interpretation accurate, and does it honor the text, but also does it really speak to our lives? And so again, this week is a time for us in many ways to pull the different tools together, do one paper, and then if you decide eventually, if you're in ministry or you teach Sunday school, hopefully this class has prepared you to go out anywhere and to deal faithfully and honorably with the scriptures, and then really bring that to people in a way that makes a difference. Remember, we've basically talked about 2 different themes for this semester, these 5 weeks. We've talked about reliability and relevance. And in many ways, I want to say this very carefully, but I believe that the scriptures are true. They do speak to our lives, but are they true in such a way that is relevant? And so one of the things that I want us to grapple with is, yeah, it's great that the scriptures are true, but then do they speak to us? And so let's read in such a way that is reliable, it honors the text, and then secondly, let's let that good interpretation speak to people's lives in such a way that meet us where we are as human beings, that speak to us in the human condition. In many regards, this is where the gospel comes to bear and impacts our lives, I think, in very powerful ways.